All right, everybody. So today, welcome back to the bench. We're going to talk about the PSA Dagger. It's actually a pretty cool gun. I really like it. There was some optics mounting issues that I did have with it. I'm going to share that stuff with you. But overall, in general, I'm going to go over everything I kind of felt with the gun. This is exactly how the gun comes. Now, as you guys can see, we have a full-size pistol with the SW2 Armory combo. I'll show you guys all of that. The barrel is DLC chameleon coated and it's threaded. It has co-witness sights, like their suppressor height. It's really cool. Like, this is a pretty sweet little gun, especially for, I think it's like $400. I'm gonna look it up and I'll add that in. Before we get into the whole review here, go over and check out Brownells. Use code BOP10. They're an amazing company. They did send out the ammunition for this review. And go check out PSA. They did send this out. I don't have a code with PSA, but they do have this and a bunch of other stuff still on sale. They're always on sale. They're always running sales on a bunch of their stuff. So go check them out. I can't thank them enough. And again, thank you Brownells for sending out the ammo, and thank you PSA for sending out the gun. This is a really cool gun to shoot. All right, so as you guys can see, you get your owner's manual. You get this actually pretty cool case. It comes with two 17-round magazines, unless you live in like a restricted state. It comes with all the stuff that you're going to need to mount your optics. And it comes with like a lock and all the other crap in here. So let's bust this open real quick and I'll kind of show you everything. I'm going to take everything out of the box here. All right, so I've got about 1,100 rounds on the PSA Dagger, and a couple of notes before we really dig into this gun. The frame is actually really nice. Now, this is a 45 frame, so you have a full-size grip, 19 length slide. You do have a threaded barrel. Now, this is a Gen 3, so if you have a Gen 3 Glock, you can interchange the barrels and do all that cool stuff. It does come with this plate already on here, and it has really cool suppressor height sights, plus it has the sight forward, so it does protect your optic, which I think is actually really nice for this gun. Another cool thing here is you see these little ridges right in here. This actually really helps. I'm gonna input some video right now. This actually really helps when you are using this to manage the recoil with both hands. Works tremendously. I don't know why other guns don't do this. All right, so let's talk about optics mounting real quick. A couple of things I wanna let you guys know. The optics plate that comes with the 509T, it works, but you have to use the small screws, which are these guys. They're right in here, and they do not hold the plate centered and keep it from moving. It's just because the screws are too small. What I would like to see PSA, if you are going to make this in the future, make a version of these Torx screws here, but make them just a little bit longer so you can mount different optics plates to this. You can't use any of the other optics mounting surfaces for this stuff, and I'm gonna show you guys why here in a second, because I originally tried to use this and I had to use a different set of screws, but the thread pitch and the depth is completely wrong and it will not work with this gun. So let's go ahead, we'll talk about the slide, and we'll talk about why you kind of can't run the 509T with this unless you're going like a direct milled route. All right, so I made this thing go back to stock here, but as you guys can tell, I broke off a screw in there, and then I broke off my extractor bit trying to get the screw out. So I had to completely trash this. Now, I did talk to PSA's customer service. They did send me out a brand new slide. Do I know if they're gonna do that to everybody? I do not know, but it does specifically state on their mounting kit here, it says only use supply screws while mounting optic. It's because PSA uses those. So there we go. I couldn't mount the 509T, which, oh well, sucks. I'll have to mount it on a different gun. But I was able to run the 407C. The Holosun 407C is a pretty decent little optic, and it's probably like the cheapest one that I would probably go with. All right, and since we're gonna be talking about optics here real quick, if you guys look, the screw here on the left, I had to trim down just a little bit in order to get it to fit so it wouldn't hit the channel where the extractor channel is. So if you guys are wondering, you will have to trim the screws that come with this. You will have to trim up the one that goes in on the right side of the slide. So go ahead and make sure that when you're putting your optics in, if these screws are too long, you will have to trim those up. So go get yourself a Dremel and like a grinding wheel and just grind that on down, take a couple of rings off, because that's how that's gonna work. And you will need shorter screws to go with the Dagger. That's just how it is. You will need to shorten that up. So yeah, that's one of the very few things here that I'm just kind of like, I was like, okay, I'll just run this. But I don't necessarily love running this. I would have much rather have run the 509T. That's just what I really like. So when it comes to that, they sent me out a new slide. First slide had about 500 rounds on it. Second slide, 550 to 600. So I've got about 1,100 rounds on this gun. There was a couple of issues when it came to the slide sticking, but it wasn't lubricated very well. I went and I added a bunch of Lucas gun oil to the barrel, to the all this stuff. I added it everywhere, and I ended up not having any more issues after that. So it really does only need to be really heavily lubricated, and then once it's heavily lubricated, you can break the gun in. I would say your break-in period is probably going to be about 300 to 400 rounds, but the gun got really dry after shooting it for a bit, so I would say 250 to 300 rounds and your gun's pretty well broken in. Now, as you can see the slide cuts on here, they do offer a bunch of different slide cuts. They make these for Dr. Optics. They don't make these for like Delta Point Pro or anything like that as I know of yet. And I'm pretty sure this gun is around $400. Just this one in particular. You can get these as cheap as I think $250, which is really cool because you're getting yourself out of high point territory and you're getting yourself into Glock territory. Now, again, Glock territory, is in terms of what you're getting, not the price you pay. So you can get these without the threaded barrel, without the optics, and just a basic Glock, which I think is great. But I think that all guns should come optics ready. I don't care. Like the SA35 they're making now and doing all that, they really need to have optics ready stuff. Let's go in and get into the feels of the gun. Trigger, absolutely atrocious for a trigger, but again, it's just like every other Gen 3 Glock. You have a lot of travel here, you have like a lot of take up, and then you get to the wall, but it's not really a wall, it's a false wall. See, it's like it's moving, and then bam, it breaks. It's a decent trigger for a Glock. It's not amazing. I would probably say an 8.5 to 9 pound trigger pull. It's not the worst Glock I've ever run. But it's not the best either. Now, they don't have the traditional Glock style screws. These are roll pinned in, so you do have to pound on the roll pins, and then you could possibly have a point where the roll pins that you are getting, that you're pushing in and out, they probably could become undersized and they could become loose. So if I were you, contact PSA before doing any sort of trigger work to this. I do not know if this will take like an Apex trigger or anything like that. I have no idea. I'm not going to go ahead and try. I'm assuming it is Gen 3 compatible, so there should be no issues. I think that the suppressor height sights are really cool, especially being in front of the optic, because you can use those to kind of rack off of your belt or off of other things, concrete, things like that. You can use those to protect your optic, especially if you're running a cheap optic, because I know a lot of you out there will be running a cheap optic. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be like, oh, cheap gun, nobody cares. A lot of people actually care about cheap guns. There's a whole world of Canik people out there, and, well, they're screaming about being poor and wanting to own a Walther, and I totally get it. I understand. I am not far away from you being poor. The only difference is I have the courtesy of trying really good guns, and I can state that Caniks are not Walthers. I have a Walther PDP-F, and I've shot numerous Caniks. Again, I'm going in there. I'm going to tell you guys, it relates. I've shot numerous Caniks, and I have a PDP-F. They're not the same. They are not the same. They're not the same gun. But a lot of people tend to think, the Canik is. Now, when it comes to this and like a Gen 3 Glock, they're the same and they're not the same. It's like the Walther and the Canik. You're getting a cheaper Glock. You're getting a Glock that's not as refined. It doesn't have the history and the tradition, but you're getting the reliability of that gun. This gun has been 100% reliable. Now, again, I have a sample size of about 1.5, so more than most people, but both slides worked phenomenally. I had no issues with any of this stuff. It just worked. That was the one thing I can say about this gun, is it does just work. It shoots well. You can shoot it fast if you're good. The only thing I can tell you is if you're out there and you're like, I want to buy a Glock, but then it means I'm going to have to buy less ammo, get a Dagger and buy more ammo. The only way you're going to get better at shooting is to shoot more and to dry fire more and to do all the other stuff that you're out there you're supposed to be doing. I will state the magazine well here does have a little bit of a bevel, but because they put these cuts in here, it is really difficult sometimes to be able to get this to go into battery. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Now, I did shoot about 50 rounds of different defensive ammo through here. I'm going to go ahead and put those videos in, or put that video in right now.
All right, so I have a couple of different mags of hollow points. Now this one, I only have a few, but these are some FTX Hornadies. And then I have some 124 grain, I don't know what these ones are, 124 grain Federal. So these are 124 grain. I have 15 of these, and I've got 6 or 5 of these. I'm gonna test if they hold the slide back and do all the other fun stuff. And then I've already shot 17 rounds of another stuff, but that's on my Instagram Reels if you check that out. So even with a Magpul mag, to kind of lock that one back, they ship with these Magpul mags, and I have a lot of issues sometimes with the slide lock with that. Other than that, it's strictly because they're Magpul mags. I highly recommend, if you're going to go and do it, grab a Glock mag. Glock mags are probably your best friend, and you can get the Gen 1 or the Gen 3s.
All right, so as you guys can see, it shot amazing with the defensive ammo. There was no hiccups. It did lock open both mags that I did have, so I was running a Magpul mag, and I was running my OD Green one here. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, it comes with 2 of these 17-round Magpul mags, but go pick yourself up some Glock mags. I believe they also make these in 10-rounders. If you guys really, really need to, I would go ahead and I would get the 17-round mags, or if you live in a communist state, get the 10-round mags, but get them in Glock. I like these for training, but if you want reliability, I've never had a problem with standard Glock mags. I think there are companies that are going to come out with some steel Glock mags in the future. We'll test reliability on those, but really, these 17-round mags are good, but they're not as good as Glock mags. Like, these Magpul mags are just nowhere near what you're getting with Glock. So just understand, get yourself some Glock mags. They will increase reliability 100%. I did have those issues, but a lot of them were solved with lubrication of the gun and with Glock mags. Lubrication of your guns and Glock mags are pretty much the 2 things that you're really going to need. Now, I did not clean this gun at all during this review, other than getting the slide. But even then, I didn't clean it. It is still dirty. It's still disgusting, as you guys can see right in here. Just a couple of things that I don't necessarily love, but they're not deal breakers about the pistol. I don't necessarily love this little nub right here. The undercut is really good, but I don't use this very often because I normally run a pistol light, so this doesn't necessarily mean anything to me, but I know a lot of people out there really like it. Another thing is I don't love the hump here. Now, this is the 19 style hump, the Glock 19 style hump, but this is a full-size frame, so I don't necessarily love that. I do believe it doesn't have the Glock 17 style of grip angle. It is necessarily, I think it's more of a vertical style grip angle, but I think it's not necessarily 1911. So I did have to do some dry firing with that. And other than that, I mean, the trigger kind of sucks, and the sights are they're just plain Jane sights. I totally get it. You can upgrade the sights if you want, but they work really well. And then one other con I've noticed is with this little adapter here for your threaded barrel. This thing, if you take this on or off to say open up the gun or do anything like that, it does have a tendency to fuck up the little rubber piece right in there. So that's just a couple of cons that I don't necessarily love about the pistol, but it is what it is. Also, the magazine release is not reversible. It is just a standard Glock Gen 3 magazine release. You have to kind of run it a specific way. So there you go. I do believe they're made by Palmetto because they don't look like the stock Glock type one, because they're not textured on the side, and the spring that they use in here is extremely difficult. I've run into some magazine dropping issues because I didn't push hard enough on this guy. So there's just a couple of cons in there for you, and I hope you guys understand that. All right, so if you guys are out there and you're looking for a dagger, I highly recommend picking one of these up. I have loved every second I've got with this, and PSA did send this out, so thank you to PSA for doing that. They're an incredible company. They did send this out. Brownells did end up sending the ammunition out for this review and some others, so thank you to Brownells. And yeah, if you guys are interested, go check this out. It's a really cool gun. You don't have to get this version. You can get the cheaper ones if you want, or you can go with the more expensive ones. There are more expensive ones. I do like these. I like the slide cuts. I like how they are. As I said, 45 grip, so I do like the full-size grip with the shortened slide. That's just what I like. I like the Glock 47 too. I think that's a pretty sweet gun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. As always, please like, subscribe, and do all the other fun stuff. And Be a hoodlum.
Oh shit. Oh fuck.